Hello, hello, my fellow creatives. Welcome, welcome. I am Imani the Writer, and this is the Healing Creative Podcast, where I, a Black girl creative, take you along my healing journey. Feel free to join me. Today's topic is going to be a deep one. We're going to talk about how lonely it could be to do the work to break generational cycles. A lot's been going on in my personal life. Amazing, but most of it honestly is really going well, but this is kind of one area of my life that I so much struggle with, and those feelings just kind of bubbled up this past week a little. So I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to bring it to the podcast to kind of sort through my feelings and see if there's anyone out there that can really relate to the idea, because I can't be the only one, but I want to know if this phenomenon is felt elsewhere, this feeling of loneliness and isolation when doing the work to break generational cycles in your family or in your community. So let's talk about it. But first, as always, creative updates. So what have I been doing lately? Today is Saturday. So my goal is after I finish recording to do two things. I want to paint and I want to play my guitar. Reason why is because last week I made a painting that I'm not entirely sure I love. It's still unfinished. I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, but while I was just looking at my other paintings, I kind of just realized, because I was just like, there's something I want to do with this painting. I was just like, I wanted to have more movement. I wanted to have more body. I wanted to have a little bit more fluidity. It was just a kind of look that I was looking for, but I didn't quite figure out how to make that happen with this piece. I didn't know what to do to create that motion. But oddly enough, I was just looking at other paintings that I've created just in my room where I was able to create that effect. And I was just staring at it and looking at it and being like, okay, what did I specifically do here to make that happen? And I kind of figured it out. I kind of figured out the best way to layer it, how many colors you have to really use to be able to create that movement. It was just so interesting looking into my creative past to find the answers I need in the present. And I thought that was just amazing and wonderful. And I just admire the creativity and the wisdom of my younger self so much, because sometimes I really do look to my inner child or my child self for answers, and she delivers every time. Oh gosh. Never underestimate children, and never underestimate your former child self. There's wisdom in your past. So I know what I need to do with this painting. So today I want to do it. I've also been having a lot of fun with music lately. I told you guys about the SingScope app a while ago, a couple episodes ago, but if you don't know, I've been working on a song. I have an idea of a melody in my head for the guitar, but I know what the notes sound like. I just don't know what they are. So the SingScope app helps me to I can hum into the app. It'll tell me what the notes are, which was really helpful. So what I've been doing is I have a chart of the guitar fretboard. And I told you guys that I was kind of using that to kind of play the melody out and figure out where the notes are on the fretboard and be able to play the melody out on my guitar. So I started doing that a little bit more last week, but then I was like, you know what? What if I forget where these notes are and how to hit them the right way? I should kind of create something to remind myself how to play this melody in case I forget. So that chart that I was using, I was like, what if I took this, edited it a little bit, and used it as a base to create tabs for myself, essentially. That's what they ended up kind of being. But what they don't really look like tabs. They're just little charts for myself for how to play the melodies. And I did in Canva, and they actually look really good. And that's when I realized after looking at them, I'm just like, oh, I'm tabbing right now. That's literally what I'm doing. Now, it doesn't look the same way as when other people tab, because the way that I kind of did it is I have the name of the note, and if I feel like it, I'll put examples of how I created my little charts to remind me. It doesn't look quite the same as when you go on a website for tabs and stuff. But I like what I have. I like my style a little bit more. I like knowing what the notes are instead of just not knowing the string and the fret. You know what I mean? I like knowing what the notes are. It's very helpful. But yeah, I've been working on these little charts. Most of the song is already mapped out, but I want to finish the rest. And play it and practice. That's my goal for music today. So that's what I'll be working on after the podcast. And that's my creative updates. Let me know what your creative updates are. Comment them down below. We want to know, what sorts of things have you been doing to keep busy? What sorts of things have you been doing towards your creative endeavors or your creative dreams, or just creative things that you just enjoy doing as hobbies to pass the time because you love them? I want to know. I want to know. Comment your creative updates down below, and let's get started into the episode. So the first question I want to pose: why does breaking generational cycles make us feel lonely and isolated? I have a few reasons for this. The first reason: other members of your family or community aren't always ready to do that work at the same time as you are. And that's tough, because you're understanding of the fact that everybody has to kind of heal and grow at their own time and everything. But at the same time, so do you. And if you're ready to grow now and you're ready to break cycles now and you want to completely end the stress and the strain and the negative impacts that these cycles have in your life right now, right then and there, you deserve to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that they have the right to heal at their own pace, but you have the right to heal at yours. And if you're at a different spot, you shouldn't have to hold yourself back for everybody else, to wait on everybody else. You know what I'm saying? If you're ready to end it now, you have the right to end it now and to never look back. But that's hard. It's tough because it's your family, it's your community, it's your friends, it's the people in your life. Especially if you're a very community-oriented person, it could be hard because going your own path and going your own way and doing that work to break cycles when no one else is kind of ready to do that work can just feel really isolating, can make you feel very alone. And it brings up a lot of negative feelings within yourself, but also within other people, which kind of leads to my next point. Another reason why the whole process makes us feel lonely is that other members of your family or community may have more work to actually go through than you do as well. Again, like, you're just in a different place sometimes. It's not always just about speed. It also just has to do with the load of it all, the workload of it all. If you're a younger member of your family, if you're a younger member of your community, you may not necessarily have the years upon years upon years to break through as elder members of your family. Some of those members, like, let's say you're in your 20s, some members of your family have been a part of this cycle your entire life, longer than your entire life. You know what I mean? Whereas you just kind of witness these things in your childhood, and now that you're an adult, you're willing to try something different. You're looking to try something different, but this has been a part of their adult life for 20 years, for 30 years, not just their childhood. It's been a part of their adulthood as well. So the workload necessary to break these patterns and to break these cycles just might be harder because they've become very accustomed to the pattern in their adulthood. Whereas you are blossoming into your adulthood now, you're already in the mindset to try something new because you are becoming someone new already. Change is already in your bones. It's already in your mind. It's already kind of in the air for you, So again, you have to be mindful of that. And it's tough to always be mindful of that, especially when it's just like you want to have compassion, but at the same time, these cycles and their participation in them are extremely frustrating, and you shouldn't have to deal with them or the way that they manifest in your own life. It's like, let's be real, you shouldn't have had to deal with it. But at the same time, we have to have compassion for the fact that they dealt with it longer. So it's just going to be harder. Also, that whole example with the younger versus older example, that's just an example. Some people may even be younger than you, but still may have more to work through. And that might not necessarily it could be because of the sheer years. It also could be that they're just comfortable in it because it's what they knew their whole childhood. It could also be the environment that they're in encourages them to stay in that cycle. If all of their friends are in a similar cycle, if everyone around them is in that cycle, it's very, very difficult to leave. So it might not just be the sheer amount of time. It could also be the environment that they're in. And maybe you are lucky enough to be in an environment that encourages you to change, that encourages you to seek out something else, that encourages you to slowly but surely start breaking these cycles and learning what life looks like on the other side and choosing that new life for you. And that's tough. Again, on one hand, you're entitled to that journey and you're entitled to that path because it's for your own good. And you would love to be able to take your family with you, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. And they are entitled to heal at their own pace, but so are you. You shouldn't have to wait. You shouldn't have to stay down there in the midst of it all, in the midst of that cycle that's causing you immense pain, waiting for them to be ready to come out so that you can all come out together. You have no idea when that's going to happen either. You know what I mean? It would be one thing if you had an idea like, okay, I just need 6 more months or 1 more year. You have no idea when everyone is finally going to be ready to do that work with you or to do that work, period. They may not necessarily be able to do it with you, but it's tough, like balancing how to have compassion for that, but how to also stay the course on your own path and do things your own way. It's tough. It's tough balancing the two. Another reason why breaking generational cycles can make us feel very lonely. Other members of your family or your community may resent or just have a lot of negative feelings towards you for taking important means to protect your peace and to create an optimal healing environment for yourself. They may feel like the actions that you took to protect your peace and to create a healing space for yourself were too drastic or unnecessary, that you were exaggerating, that you were dragging it, and all this, that, and the third. And maybe you've heard it so many times, you've heard them tell you so many times, that you start to question, am I dragging it? Am I being too drastic? Is this unnecessary? But I look back. The best way for me to deal with that is to look back on the reasons why I felt that it was necessary to do that in the first place. One thing I was told a lot was that healing can happen anywhere and that you can just kind of very much pray away your fears and pray away your trauma type rhetoric, that even if you're in the midst of trauma and in the midst of triggers and in the midst of chaos, you should be able to heal anywhere, even in the midst of that. You should be able to heal anywhere because you have God or something like that. And I get what they're trying to say. I believe the good intentions in saying that, but I reject that statement because your environment has a huge impact on the way you were raised, on the way you behave. Think about it. When a baby is being raised, we think about the environment that that baby is being raised in. If that baby is being raised in an environment that is good for them and that encourages certain behaviors, then it's going to be really, really difficult for that baby to not rely on their conditioning and rely on their environment to help them. Same with habits, like having a certain community around you that has certain shared values around like diet or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very hard. Like let's say you want to be healthy, but nobody else wants to be healthy and nobody who you live with wants to be healthy. Then that means that everybody else is going to have a whole bunch of junk in the house 24/7. And it's going to be harder for you to insist on being healthy when all these amazing, delicious foods are staring right in front of your face and you're just eating a salad. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be hard to resist when you've got all this stuff in your house tempting you to do something else. And I also think that it's somewhat victim blaming too, like expecting someone to be able to heal when they're being triggered all the time. I think that's unreasonable because by the time they sit down and they do the work and they do the meditations and they do the journaling and they do the prayers to get over the first thing, the next thing just shows up and that person has to go through that process over and over and over again. And sometimes she's being triggered more often than she's able to heal and work through them. She's being triggered at a faster rate than their ability to heal from the situation. So it's important to cultivate a healing environment for you that's encouraging, the behaviors that you want to adopt, that's going to encourage the life that you want to live and the habits that you want to take on. It's not drastic to remove yourself from situations fully that are just going to keep triggering you over and over and over and over again. No matter how much somebody tells you that that was drastic or that was unnecessary, you can say, no, it was. It was. I needed complete silence. Complete quiet. I needed time to work through these things without having to worry about when the next shoe is going to drop. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need space and you need time and you need peace and you need quiet. You do. It's unfair to tell someone, to make it someone's responsibility to do that healing in the midst of things that are constantly attacking them, that are constantly causing them to revert backwards. That's unrealistic. And that's victim blaming, in my opinion. Another reason why is that maybe for other family members or community members seeing you or not seeing you, if you decided to kind of take some space, but them seeing you on your healing journey can spark uncomfortable feelings. We don't know why. I don't know why. It could be because they recognize that that's a healing journey that they should be going on as well, but they're not ready to do so. So seeing you do it is irritating to them and brings about uncomfortable feelings. It could be for a lot of reasons. The issue, I think, has less to do with the why, because it's just like we can't always know why. There's not always a reason that makes sense to us for why. It's just being prepared for it and navigating it the best way that we can. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing really we can do beyond that. But these are some of the reasons why breaking generational cycles can make us feel lonely. If you guys think that I missed something or left something out, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to know. But yeah, so this is a lot. And I want to talk about how that makes us feel, what that loneliness really feels like, because it's not just loneliness alone. It's feeling isolated. There's like the isolation, but there's also the conflicted feelings around the isolation, because sometimes it's technically self-imposed isolation, right? Like, you recognize that you can't heal here. You recognize that you can't grow here. This environment is kind of just holding you back because it's just triggering you all the time. And you are ready. You're ready to break these cycles. You're ready now. And you don't want to wait for everyone to do that work with you. So you prepare yourself for the possibility of doing that alone. And doing it alone can be really, really sad and lonely and isolating. But because you made that decision to do it alone, you wonder if you even have the right to feel lonely in the first place, because it's kind of like you chose this. If you felt that way, I want you to know that yes, you do, because the alternative would be to not be lonely, but to be suffering. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to make a choice to break the cycles, feel a little lonely from time to time, but still be on the path towards healing, or to stay in this community, to not be alone, to not be lonely, but still just be miserable with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, would you rather be a little lonely, but for the most part happier alone, than to be surrounded by people who just have a few happy times here and there, but consistently there's some sort of ridiculous thing going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I had to be happy overall alone versus being miserable with everyone, what's the choice? What's the decision that you would make? You didn't do it like out of spite. You didn't do this to spite anyone. You didn't do this to hurt anybody's feelings or to make anyone feel bad. You chose this path because nothing else was working. You chose this path because there were limited choices for you to make in the first place. There were limited choices available, and you had to weigh your options and pick the best one for you long term. Even though in the short term it'll suck, it's still the best for you long term, you know? Sometimes going through this path can kind of make you feel like you're the black sheep, but at the same time, it's just like, oh, but I left, but I'm the one that left. It's not like I was necessarily kicked out. I was the one that left. Don't invalidate yourself like that, because you did not have a choice. You did have a choice, technically to just stay and do what the status quo demands of you. But like your heart of hearts, your mind of minds knew that that is just not a good idea. You had to pick the choice that was best for you for the long term. But sometimes, you start slowly trying to come back, especially if you've had a period of healing and everything and you've made some really great progress. So it's just like, okay, maybe I can try to come back. But when you do, you're not always welcomed in a way that feels pleasant. That can definitely make you feel like you're the black sheep now. It's just like, oh, okay, let me just stay gone then. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, you were mad because I left, but when I come back, you're mad that I'm back. You know what I mean? It's like, what do we do with that? And we're trying to do it slowly to just take our time and just be like, hi, is it safe to come back? Is everything good? Can I be here? Can I do that? And then maybe they see your hesitation and they're irritated by that too, because they're just like, what the hell is your problem? And it's just like, okay, well, I don't know what you want from me at this point. You know what I mean? I left and you were mad. I came back and you're mad. What do you want? Whether they say it out loud or not, they may have unresolved feelings about you distancing yourself in the first place. And that's probably why when you come back, it's just like, they're not happy. Because they were angry because you left in the first place. And maybe they want you to answer for that. And maybe it hurt their feelings. And I'm not saying that they're not entitled to their feelings, but at the same time, it's just like, you didn't do it for no reason. And they don't want to reckon with your reasons. But you may even feel like, damn, like, shit, am I really the problem? Maybe I am the problem then. If maybe I'm just not wanted here. Maybe everyone would be better off if I just stayed away. If that's what you're feeling, I don't want to invalidate that at all. I felt that way too. But that's just a thought. Instead of taking that on as truth, what I've decided to do is kind of just put a pin in that thought. Don't assume that it's true. Don't assume that it's false. Just, it's a thought that's out there in the ether. And I'm just kind of letting it hang there and not really doing anything with it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let that thought impact the way that I show up right now. It's still there, but I'm kind of just in this mode of let's gather more evidence before we just start assuming that that's the case, Not in a confirmation bias sort of way, but just kind of a wait and see kind of way. So before you let yourself determine that you're better off staying away, that everyone else is better off staying away and nobody wants you there and da 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 da. Let's just put a pin in that thought and wait it out. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're right. I'm saying if you're in a limbo around that, just wait it out. You don't need to confirm nor deny. You don't need to get rid of the thought. It can just stay there and stay still. Another thing that may come about when you're trying to break generational cycles is this feeling of guilt. Like maybe you start to feel guilty. I felt that before. Like you start to wonder that if you were overreacting or that if you are in fact wrong, if these cycles that you have determined need to end are actually just normal and just part of who we are as a family or as a community. They're part of who you are and you can't change them. And you're wrong for expecting these things to change and everything like that. And there's moments like I hate, and sometimes I hate that the guilt of feeling like you abandoned everyone, like you abandoned your family, you abandoned your community. And sometimes it makes you feel really guilty. And I get that for sure. In those moments, I just have to remind myself why I left. Sometimes I have to almost re-trigger myself by replaying the triggering events in my mind all over again, just to remind myself that I didn't do this for nothing, that I'm not wrong, that I'm not going to gaslight myself and make me feel like I did this all for no reason. It was for a reason. And it's sometimes I have to remind myself of the good that came from the quiet that arose after leaving. Because out of that quiet and out of that peace, a lot has been birthed that served me very well. Breaking generational cycles can also feel like really like burdening work. Like it just feels like a burden on your shoulders sometimes too. And you start to wonder like, why is it on me? Just because like you were kind of like the first, you know what I'm saying? It really just became the hardest on you because you were the first one to say, no, I refuse to participate in this any further. I refuse. And if we're not going to change the way we do things, then I have to leave. It does feel like a burden on your shoulders. And there's no one you can really share that burden with because nobody else is really ready to do that work. If they were ready to do that work, that burden could be shared. But because nobody else is, it's like, okay, I have to do this all on my own. Oddly enough, somewhat off topic, but still relevant. You know how we see all those TikToks and social media videos about like what it's like to be the oldest child, the middle child, and the youngest child, and da da da. And how people always say that the youngest child is just spoiled. They don't be going through nothing. None of the rules apply to them. When they mess up or make a mistake, they get off easy. I'm technically the youngest sibling, but sometimes I don't resonate a lot with that picture. I don't feel spoiled. I don't feel like I get away with anything either. I get sometimes when older siblings feel like there's favoritism there. Maybe that's relevant, maybe that's valid, but I don't like the rules aren't different for me in a way that allows me to feel like they're in my favor. I don't feel like the rules are in my favor at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, in fact, I feel like there are more rules for me. I also kind of feel like I maybe fall into the middle child category a little bit more simply because even though I am the youngest sibling, my siblings had children around the same time I was growing up. So those children kind of fall into the youngest sibling category simply because they were babies when I was growing up. So it's just like, even though I was technically the youngest child in my set of siblings, there were younger children around that were younger than I was. So they kind of fit that youngest child category, where I was kind of the middle child that was oftentimes forgotten. But at the same time, like the rules were never in my favor. I did definitely obey all of them, met every standard, met every requirement, exceeded everyone's expectations in every way that I could, and oftentimes was just forgotten because more attention had to be paid to either the younger children, or the children who were just misbehaving all the time. You know what I mean? Like more, like sometimes that's just how it goes down. Parents have to pay attention to the children who are misbehaving. So if you are on your best behavior and you are just an easy child, you kind of fade into the background a lot. That doesn't mean that people don't start paying attention to you if you do look like you're about to break the rules, which is like, that's when they'll pay attention. But when you just get used to handling and doing things on your own, you know? And so breaking these generational cycles is just another thing you had to figure out on your own, which is irritating. But yeah, I brought up those videos because while I'm not going to invalidate the fact that older siblings do have it hard at times, I feel like everyone makes it seem like younger siblings just have it easy all the time. Nothing bad ever happens to them. They get the best treatment, that they're spoiled, that they don't have to follow the rules, like they have life on easy mode. We never really talk about the fact that it's oftentimes the youngest children who are the ones who bear the most burden to break generational curses because they are simply in the best position to do so. They're the youngest. So while they have seen and been a part of these cycles since they were children, they are the youngest. So they really haven't participated in these cycles as long as everybody else has. So they aren't as entrenched as everybody else is. And they are more willing to do something else, to change the situation, to try something new, especially if they're just coming into their adulthood. They're already in a season of change. So they are in the best position to make changes happen in their life to end generational curses. But because everybody else has been entrenched in them for so long, and it's at this point part of their conditioning, there's no one paving the way for that youngest child. They have to kind of start it out on their own. At least that's what it seems like from my perspective. Let me know if anybody can relate, but they kind of have to lead the charge in a way. And sometimes leading the charge means leaving altogether, which sucks. So if this is you, if you've been feeling any of these feelings in regards to ending generational cycles, ending generational curses, you're not alone. I know how much you feel like you're alone right now, but I promise you, you're not. I am very confident that there are other people who feel the way that you do. And even if there aren't, I know exactly what that's like. I feel the way that you do. I know what it's like to be ready, to just be like, enough is enough. I need this to stop. I need this to end. I need the role that this has in my life to just end today. I cannot wait another day. And you have to pay the price for that. And while it's hard and you know you made the right choice, you can see the fruits of that work already coming into shape, and you don't necessarily regret your decisions. That doesn't make them not hard decisions that you had to make. But yeah, I know what that's like, and I want to take some pressure off of you right now. You don't need to feel guilty anymore for choosing you and choosing yourself and choosing your life. You don't need to feel burdened, like you bear the responsibility of ending this curse for the entire family, because you don't. My mom used to say that I was born into the families, both my mom and my father's families. I was born into my families to save them. I meant to mention this earlier in the podcast, but I had forgotten. I used to kind of resent the idea of that because I was always just like, I am the child. I am a kid. Why is that my freaking responsibility? Why can't the grown-ups just be adults? And I'm not even gonna hold you. Sometimes those feelings still bubble up, but now that I kind of see the situation for what it is and I have more perspective, I could be like, it's because I am simply in the best position to do so. And then that's not to say that my family needs me in order to do their healing, but I am simply in the best position to end the cycle first and learn what that life looks like on the other side, and show through example, simply by leading by example, not even necessarily having to be the one to teach it to them, but simply by living my life myself and allowing them to be a part of it and to be able to see it when it is time. They can be able to see how I was able to end it and what I was able to swap it with and how I was able to move on in a way that was sustainable. So I kind of accept that if that is my role, I haven't accepted that that's my role yet. But if that is my role, that's okay. That's fine. But I don't need to bear the weight of that pressure on my shoulders. For now, I can kind of just focus on doing the healing I need to do for me and to take my time with that. You can do the same too. You can take some pressure off of you right now. Right now, you're only responsible for your own healing. And you don't have to heal faster. You don't have to heal right this second. You can take your baby steps one day at a time. I want you to know that I see you and that I hear you and that I feel you, that I understand, that I've got your back, that I'm here to support you, because I know that this isn't easy. I know that this isn't easy. But yeah, if you like this podcast episode so far, I think that you will deeply resonate with what's to come. As we've discussed, family struggles can be really heartbreaking, especially if you are a family-oriented person or a community-oriented person. And I think that the best way to navigate these kinds of situations involve, one, doing your best to heal your family wounds in the way that works best for you. And for two, starting to cultivate a new community around you, a sort of chosen family, not to replace the family you were born with, but to support you while you're kind of going on this path, especially if you're going it alone right now. In this next podcast episode, I go deep to uncover my rawest and most real wounds when it comes to these specific troubles and these specific struggles. And in the process, I was able to discover the first baby steps I needed to take towards cultivating that new community that I needed to help support and facilitate my healing. It was such an incredible and powerful discussion. It was raw, it was real, it was my uninhibited self. It was me having the space to be vulnerable, and in that vulnerability, finding a path forward. I want to share that with you guys. But this specific episode of the podcast will only be available on Patreon. It might be a little bit too raw and real for YouTube, but I do want to share it with people who deeply resonate with this topic, because seeing my healing happen could be the very thing that could help you along your journey. And if it could help one person, even if it's just one person, I want to make that available. So for this and more exclusive content, feel free to join my Patreon. Now, I would deeply, deeply appreciate any and all support for the podcast so that we can continue creating content for all the healing creatives out there who would deeply resonate with it. So it's available at patreon.com/ImaniTheWriter25. That's patreon.com, ImaniTheWriter25. Links will be in the description box below. But back to the topic. So we talked about this whole process around this whole discussion about breaking cycles ad nauseum now, right? What's the solution look like? The most frustrating thing about journaling through this is I really wanted to be able to find one answer, one single answer that would just solve everything, that would feel so complete in my soul and in my spirit. But I don't think that there is one answer. I feel like everybody has to feel out their situation and play it by ear as they go, and they have to do it at a pace that works for them. And I have to start learning to be okay with finding myself in emotional dilemmas that don't quite have the concrete answers that would make me feel secure. I have to find a way to feel secure anyway. At the very least, to feel secure in my ability to figure things out as they come. So I want you to take a moment to just kind of put your hand to your chest and just have faith in yourself that one way or another, you'll find a way to move forward. You will figure things out when they come. You will feel the situation. You'll play it by ear, and you will make the best decisions for you when the time comes to make a decision. And even if you don't necessarily trust yourself to be able to do that quite now, just fake it till you make it at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust yourself. And even if you do make a decision that's not the best, trust myself and I trust you and you trust yourself to be able to stand up again, to learn from that mistake and push forward. I think one part of the solution, though, I think that there are solutions, but there's just not one solution that everyone can apply to everything going on in everyone else's life in regards to their families, in regards to their communities. But it's important to cultivate that inner trust. Another thing to do is to focus on your why. Focus on the change that you want to see in yourself and in your family. You may not be able to see that change really blossom and take shape the way that you hope to in your family, because some of that is just outside of our control. But it's important to have a vision for what you would like to see happen in your family, but also have a very clear-cut idea and path forward for the change you want to see in yourself, in your own life. Like, if I can't have this, if I can't have the storybook ending where everyone can finally just fucking get along, what do I need to have within me and within my own life so that I know that I'll be okay? Understand the why. Understand why you're doing this. Remember what it is that you would like to see different moving forward. Again, it's also important to try your best at cultivating a new community, not to replace the one that you have, but to be an additive to support you during this difficult time where you are trying to break some serious curses and some serious cycles that existed long before you, generations before you. And that's not going to be easy, and it could be a very lonely process. So it's important to cultivate a community that can support you during this time. I'm really hoping and praying that this podcast could be a space for that, for you and for me. I'd love to see it grow into a real community where everyone can feel seen and heard and understood. Hopefully one day that'll happen. It's definitely a dream of mine. But you don't need to necessarily just have one, you can have multiple different communities for multiple different things. And all of that will be an additive to serve to support you during this difficult time. Again, remember to focus on your own healing, because you've got healing to do too. It's important to stay humble in the fact that you're not perfect either. So try not to judge your family or your community too harshly, even though I know that's tough. It's hard to balance having compassion for where they currently are while actually being able to still have critiques and have feedback and have real requirements for how things need to change moving forward. But try to balance that out in the best way that you can, and do that by focusing on your own healing and hopefully leading by example in that. And remember to trust yourself and to forgive yourself if you mess up. Healing is not linear. You know what I'm saying? It's a meandering path. You have your good days and you have your bad days, but you got to trust that, like I said, you'll play things by ear. You'll feel the situation out. Trust that you'll make good decisions that serve you. And if you don't, if you fuck up, forgive yourself, learn the lesson, apply the lesson, and stay the course. There's a path forward in all this, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not hopeless. I believe from the depths of my heart and my soul that you're gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right. We'll all be all right. Yeah. I think that's all my thoughts. So I'm probably going to end the podcast episode here. I'm super happy that I had this opportunity to express my thoughts with you guys. If you reached it to the end and this was healing for you, leave like a flower emoji in the comment section below. Any flower, doesn't matter, your favorite one. I really, really hope that this discussion meant something to you, or deeply meant something to me. I hope that it's encouraging to you on your healing journey. It's definitely encouraging to mine. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Take care.